Welcome back to a history of saps, blackjacks, and slungshots. You might recall this leather slungshot, pretty unique sample, or rare I should say, that I have, and one of the cool things about it is this really thick leather loop that is the handle. That's one of the things that makes this one pretty rare, and in fact, out of my entire collection, just playing with some different holds there, out of my entire collection, I only have one other one that uses the same system. I dubbed this pocket sap. Actually, my third video ever was on this one. And in a way, all saps are pocket saps. But this particular configuration here, that flattened load, right, like on a flat sap, but with no handle, just a loop, that's as pocket-friendly as it gets. Hence me giving it that moniker. And here it is next to today's sap. This is by Robert Garcia, and it is a beautiful weapon, as you can see. It's actually his update and improvement on that particular old sap. The one-piece construction is a key facet of the new design, hence 1P being in the title. And I'm pretty sure by now you've noticed what Mr. Garcia's calling card is. Amazing, right? And we're going to get plenty of views on it in this one. I've covered this kind of weapon, this specific subtype, before, so I'll have a lot less functional information because I've already done it, and we'll just admire this thing. Speaking of the historical trail, obviously leather makers made these in the past, right? And they were often saddle makers, holster makers, and you would think this would be not uncommon. Gonna do some exquisite tooling on the piece, give the owner something to show off. But as far as we can tell, that was not the case. Finely braided leather is another story. That's where older saps tended to show off. I'm using saps in the overall general sense, by the way. So there's the size of it, and you can almost cover it with your hand, and I've done some of the sleight of hand stuff before in former videos, so this is how this one would fit in that way. If you let it slide out of your sleeve, then that's one way you could catch it, then be ready to drop it into an actual usable grip, like this. That's my favorite for this kind of loop, but really it just depends on your preference, and it's kind of cool because you can experiment and come up with your own. Speaking of that, the loop on this one's really stiff and broad, and that does change things a little bit, so I could kind of stick all my fingers in there like that, and it's very secure grip, obviously, if I do so. You could just grab it like this, too. I mean, it's not perfect in the sense that it could slip out of your hand, but it's so stout that it feels really good in your hand that way. Remember, every little bit of torque goes a long way with these, so if I choke down, I've got a wider swing arc, and I can choke down and stick a finger in there, so see that? That's what I was talking about before, just kind of experiment. Look how much more leash it has there that way. I mean, it really changes the weapon, right? More power, less recoverability, you can kind of snap with it, and I'm just playing around. You probably wouldn't hold it in a reverse grip unless you really had to. Well, let's really get into it now as far as the visuals, and I'll give you some up-close views, different angles, that kind of thing. As you can tell, it was fun just taking pictures of this guy. And there's a loose load inside of there, by the way. Haven't mentioned that yet. I don't know exactly what type. Number 9 birdshot. Maybe something like that. So, since I'm calling it a pocket sap, let's look at it in a pocket. This is in my front jeans pocket, so you can see not very much comes out at all, and you do not look threatening with that. Back pocket works actually better because more of it sticks out. But again, you look as innocuous as can be, and obviously the t-shirt could be dropped over it, and it would essentially be invisible. And you can see from this angle that even the strap, the loop, gets some artistic attention, right? And I think that's a good choice because it gives it a more unified look than if the decorative flourishes were just on the head. And here's a real up-close of the strap, so you can see the detail there. And heck, let's go ahead with the 10 times magnification and really get up close. This is back on the striking head. I don't know if the design itself is meant to have a southwestern vibe, but that's what it feels like to me, and I really like that. Yeah, we're almost getting microscopic now, so let's do that. How about that? Ever seen the stitching that up close on one of these? I've done a lot of sap videos, so we gotta mix it up here. I have done extreme close-ups before, but actually not as many as I would have guessed when I started on this. And this model here is definitely a good excuse to do that with. It's a stunner, literally and figuratively. It certainly seems well constructed too, so I've talked a lot about kind of the artistic side, but this looks like you get a lot of years carry and, if needed, use out of it. A very cool update on a old and pretty rare configuration. I'm thrilled to have played the smallest part in the evolution of this masterful piece of work here, and even more thrilled that my initials are in the name, RE1P, Robert Escobar One Piece, and I promise that's not something I knew was going to happen. I wasn't expecting that, but I also wasn't going to turn it down when Mr. Garcia told me about it. I'll have his contact info in the video description, and this one has been a real pleasure. Thanks.